Howdy folks, I'm Rebecca Jolly, the Jolly Alchemist. Today we are going to look at a transit report for Monday, the 22nd of September, 2025. So we're looking here at the second version of the right angle cross of love. So we're still very internally focused in the love process. And that's happening as a result of the 46 and the 25 on top. But of course, this cross underneath it has the support of the 15 and the 10. Yeah, 15 and the 10. So the 15 is love of all humanity here. And of course, the 46 is here. And then 25 is innocence coming out of the G center. And 10 is behavior or treading of the self. So basically, authenticity, being who you really are. So then this cross is encircled within these four gates of being who you are, innocently in the now, doing your own thing, which brings you luck, and entails a love of all the flexible nature of humanity. So, line 2. Line 2 is the prima donna, and we have an up arrow on that one. So the prima donna is the demanding nature that brings in talent. Remember, our second lines are doing things naturally. So the second line of the 46th gate is naturally just doing what it loves, and that puts it in the time and the place to achieve the luck of being discovered and bringing in fame. Now, the up arrow of that is the big talents of a prima donna are recognized despite their difficult and demanding nature and lead to success. Now, on the other side of this, it can be that someone with very little talent or skill is also recognized, and then that pisses other people off. As always, the second line is a bit of a mystery. There's something that we don't see there. There's something that's a little bit difficult to handle there. The person who's living out the 46 line 2, and any second line really, is not truly understanding the nature of what's going on there because they themselves are not understanding it. And that's because they're not looking at it. They're just living it in their bodies. So, the earth activation that goes along with it is 25, line 2. Of course, 25 is our innocence and love of everything. Line 2 is existentialism, devoted and innocent admiration of the now. So the song that I chose to go with this is Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson. If you've ever heard this song, it's really about... Don't worry about the outside world. Don't worry about all the things you gotta do. Just stay home. Let's just stay in bed. I'll make you banana pancakes. We'll just love and be us in our little bubble right now. And I've definitely felt that feeling in the little bubble with my partner. Like, can we just hold this right here now and just be here right now forever? Dag with the rest of everybody else. But of course, the world intrudes. However, they are in some ways able to carry this existential now enjoyment feeling. So that's what's happening in the second line. Our moon begins the day in 18, line 1. 18 is focus on the broken. We've seen this many times before. And line 1 is evolution. We looked at that yesterday. 2 days ago. Conservative principles for gradual evolution. So it's about looking to change, looking to see what's wrong and needs to be changed. But, you don't want to go too far into it. You just gradually look at what's broken there. And of course, the moon will be zipping through all of these lines in the 18th gate, while at the same time, Mercury is holding 18 at line 4 and moving into line 5. So it's kind of interesting. We're going to have two gates right next to each other featuring, two planets, the moon and Mercury, featuring 18 today. When the moon is done with its 18, it will move into 48. That's the well, that's the depth. And then it will move into 57, the gate of intuition that I have in blue and orange right here. And that will be making a connection for everyone between the throat and the spleen. This is the channel of the improviser. So this is what I was talking about recently, that flash of inspiration. You have in the moment the capacity to recognize something that is an intuitive insight in the now and to be able to speak it out. That's what's happening there when you have that 20 connected to the 57. And I know personally for me, because I have all three of the other gates active in this integration circuit, the application of that 20, the now, is very important for my energetics to feel complete and to be in a process of self-empowerment, which is what that integration circuit is all about. Of course, in my case, the 34 is my Neptune activation. It's veiled, so it veils this whole entire circuit for me. So I'm really, really interested in self-empowerment, but I can't really look at it very well. So there's opportunities there if you don't mess with them. That's what's happening in Neptune. So yeah, it's a challenge for me. Anyway, that's what's happening in the moon. So then our second people energy is, of course, Mercury, which I said starts off in 18.4 with a down arrow. So yesterday we looked at 18.2 and 3, which was accepting, and then fanatic zeal. So today it moves to 4, suffering. And it's the suffering because there's no potential for correction. And it says the down arrow on that says the fixation on the unsolvable problem is so strong that it leads to rigid indecision and suffering in anxiety. Damn it, Jim. You want to make that connection, but you really, really can't. So you just sit there kind of being anxious on it and just going like, argh. And some suffering is entailed therein, although you have to say the people who hold this energy, they don't necessarily suffer that much from it. Maybe they make the other people around them suffer a little more with their constant desire to correct what can't be corrected, but somebody has to see everything, and there's, if you look at it and say, okay, there's no judgment, it's just this is a correction that's getting ready to be made, that's looking into interpersonal kinds of affairs. And when you're starting to deal with people, you're starting to be aware that you can't always fix them. That's just a part of life, so somebody's got to carry that energy. Then throughout the day, Mercury will move into 18.5. This is the classic line of therapy, collaboration for correction. So as I was saying before about the 18 when we were looking at it, is that therapy line really works both ways. So it's about the therapist and the therapy. So both tend to carry this line and to need each other in a sort of corrective relationship. So that's an interesting thing to look at. I wonder personally how many people who work in the mental health industry carry this line, who both need therapy themselves and are good at providing that guidance and service for others. It's one of those questions that hopefully will be answered in the future when human design becomes more of a widely accepted thing, and then we can start to apply some of our fourth line youthful folly people to creating the experiments like this to see how much of that actually pans out. All right, our Venus energy is 59.4 with an up arrow. And why is this not listed? Did I just skip it? Well, by all means, let's find it. 59.4 is true friendship. The power for non-sexual closeness and intimacy. I remember referring to this recently. Oh, I did. That's because we talked about it yesterday. True friendship, power for non-sexual closeness and intimacy. Of course, 59 is our sexual role gate coming out of the sacral center and heading towards the emotional center. And then over the course of the day, yes, it will be moving into 59.5, which is seduction. Now that is happening on Monday. Okay, well, we'll look at it. It comes into the reading tomorrow, but it is also shifting off of that tomorrow. So in an effort to give you as much information forward as I can, especially for those of you in Europe or Australia who I know are watching me, we'll talk about that as well. 59.5 is seduction, the power of sexuality to attract other people. So this is our Casanova, our seductor, seducer energy that is here, really concentrating the power of what we want to see in the 59th gate. We want to see that sexuality, that vivid sexual attraction overcome all the awareness of conflict and trouble and interpersonal strife that we have in that emotional 6 coming down. Something's got to bust through that so that we can make babies and start new projects, and that's really where that 59.5 is shining the most. So our Mercury comes next, and that is still starting off the day in 50 line 4 with a down arrow, which we were talking about yesterday was the corruption of values, but today it will move into 50 line 5, still talking about values here, coming out of it's the tip of the spleen energy, that beginning of the intelligence in humans. And specifically, line 5 is about consistency, the conservative awareness of basic values. Now, that does have a down arrow on it, which is the stubborn reaction and rebellion against basic methods and values that were actually successful. Now, I don't know about the down arrow part of it, that end of the spectrum. I know somebody who carries this energy, and I have often wondered and valued this person's input in my life for how they are. Oh, and they do carry the down arrow on that. Very interesting. Yeah, this person has always been to me a person of very great values and integrity, whereas I've been a little bit more like sketchy, experimenting with things, figuring them out kind of the hard way. It's like he said, I figured out really early on that I could scam the system, I could manipulate people, I could talk my way out of trouble if I wanted to, but then I thought, why should I? I don't really want to. It doesn't seem like that really furthers the planet and the growth and the evolution of all of us. And when I heard that, I thought, huh, that's interesting, because I'm always like, I wonder if I can get away with it. Let's see. And then I get into trouble, of course. But that kind of a mature looking at that subject of values really impressed me. And I think what we're seeing there is the contrast between me having the 3rd line of that gate and them having the 5. I'm just way more experimental about it, and they're at that fully recognized, this is what we want to see in that 50th gate. We want to see somebody who can hold responsibilities and have values and be consistent with it. So there's that. Our global energy is staying the same, and we have only one connection being made throughout the day. Of course, as I said, it will happen towards the end of the day when the moon hits 57 and creates this connection between the 57 directly to the 20 in the throat. So the world will have the ability to speak about their bodies and what's going on in their actual internal physical systems in a very now-oriented kind of way. See if you can notice that happening for you. I certainly will be looking for it. And that is what we have for today. So take care of yourselves. We will come back tomorrow to look at line 3 of the right angle cross of love. Still inwardly focused, but starting to get an awareness that maybe there might be something on the other side of that channel. Until then, take care. Ciao.